I'm Dr. Arshad Quadri, um, and I'm a cardiac surgeon by training. And currently, I am the executive chairman of an incubator, Incubate Medical Technologies, located in Massachusetts, and the chief medical officer of that company. So, incubator, I formed the incubator. This is a physician inspired and kind of started, and that physician would be me. Way back in 2007, I got interested in doing something out of the operating room, creating some device that could help patients and shield them from surgical trauma. So that's when it all started. A neighbor of mine in my little hometown, West Hartford, Connecticut, Zoran Berisovic, he was working with me and we were digging a koi pond. And Z said that, and they all call me Q. So Q, what have you been up to? So I told him that I'm working on this prototype, right? And I can't have any luck with it. So he said that I have a perfect guy for you that I know from his business school. And so he sent me to this company where I met a young man. At that time, his name was Brent Ratz. So he basically, after seeing my projects, approached me and said that I want to work with you. And that was a partnership we formed. And 2007, we made a company. It was called Cardiac Valve Technologies. And that was an endeavor that lasted, I would say, 8 years. And that company, we created a first percutaneous non-surgical mitral valve replacement technology that was acquired by a very reputable company in Irvine. Encouraged by that endeavor, we went ahead and that took us 8 years to develop, and then we went ahead and created another valve called the Monarch. And the Monarch valve, which is a tricuspid valve, and that was also acquired by a strategic. So it would put me in the situations, bragging rights for having two heart valves come out of the same shop, so to speak. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. And so the first company was Cardiac Valve Technologies. Then we made another company called inQB8 Medical Technologies, inQB. So Q is me, B is Brent, 8 Medical Technologies. So the way I look at the heart diseases and mortality associated with the heart conditions comes from different parts of the anatomy that is involved. So you can think of it in 3 different areas. One is structural changes. That would be like valvular disease or the whole pump itself, dysfunction of the heart pump, or just above the valve, the aorta, the big tube. And then when the heart's injured over the years due to heart attacks and such, it goes into heart failure, and therefore body starts to retain fluid. So that's called heart failure. So those can be congestive, and that can be on the left side and on the right side, right side and the left side of the heart. So that's the global view of the incubator. So pick these areas up and kind of like see if we can find solutions that will reduce the morbidity and mortality of these sick patients. And the misery the family goes through with this. So, guy gets sick, you live in the hospital, you get surgery or recovering for 10 days, go home, and his PT, et cetera, and you gotta he's 6 months down and you've lost that much time. So you do get better, but it's a lot of endeavor. So that's what we want to shorten. I told you we already did a tricuspid valve. Then we are also working on a ascending aorta, aortic valve system so that we can treat lethal diseases like aortic dissections, large aortic aneurysms, or other aortopathies, as say, aortic diseases in that area. The other ones we are also exploring, and one of my companies that spun off is also very interesting, is a concept that we're trying to do something like the body works on a feedback loop, you know. So what happens is that, let's say your heart rate goes up and systems kick in and it slows it down. Or diabetes, sugar goes up, it excites the pancreas, insulin is, so there's always a feedback loop. And if you have that whole concept, if you take it down further, that's how the body works: blood pressure, heart rate. So what we have right now is a company we spun out, and there'll be more coming out of our incubator, which will pick up this loop. Pressure goes up in certain areas of the heart, this therapeutic device will act on that and reduces back to the normal. So yeah, so that's the feedback loop control smart systems. That's the dream, to one day make these implantable systems. So we already taken one step, and one of the companies have spun out doing that. So yeah, so that's an interesting aspect of it. And as we go along, there'll be ventriculoplasty, shrinking the size of the heart pumps for the right side recovery as well. So recover right, that would be. So these are a lot of blocks that we have in our portfolio. But we can only tackle one at a time, I guess, and it all depends on how much funds can you raise, and how many smart engineers can work with you, and how big a corporation can you generate. So, and that brings me to the point that why am I here as a physician at a LSI meeting, right? This is all, and that's exactly the reason, because I really want to see close up as what LSI offers, and I've been very pleasantly surprised that the business connections are something you need. Really, you need funding. You need these things are expensive. They're expensive to create. So hopefully, this network of people that LSI provides will help move these projects forward. I'm an immigrant from India, right? So came back here. My hometown is Pittsfield, Massachusetts. That's where I got my first job, right? And then I started working in the hospital. But there was surgery, I was very into vascular surgery. But I couldn't stand the fact that the patient's got to have all this long incision in the leg. So I had a system that I wanted to make. So I did my first invention in this little town of Pittsfield, and I didn't know where to go because I was a year and a half in the country, so I had no idea. So I said, the jewelers do make these little pieces of metal. They cut little pieces. So that'll be the best partner. So I went to a jeweler shop and I talked to the guys, and I convinced them to make me my first surgical tool invention in this country. So then we got together. We made some things. I used it on a patient. So it's just focus and persistence. And you see the problem, you focus on it, you want to solve it, and you take it to any level. And it doesn't start with a funding of $1 million. You just start with an idea that you really want to pursue, but you've got to be all in. Before I started my first valve, I wanted to create some prototypes. So I bought a lot of nitinol wires, and basically I just twist them around, use liquid nitrogen. It was kind of a mess in my basement. And I would take it to this machinist who had a shop that could heat nitinol wires to that degree you can't heat it at home. You see all these weird shapes I would bring him, and they were all very crude. So he looked at me and he says, "Doc, you need to find an engineer." You can't do this yourself. So, but the persistence leads to where you want to get. So you get the idea, you get inspired, you want to solve it. That's not it. That's just the beginning. But how much you believe in it, how much you can push, and how much following you can get earlier on. So that's how you do it. So the incubator, basically right now it's homegrown. All ideas come from me because I've had some clinical problems I would like to solve. So that's the first step, and then that's the heart valves and the dissections and other technologies that I just talked about in those three buckets that I mentioned earlier, and you go from there, and then you create. So the funding is the important part. So you you self-fund it for a little bit. You put your friends and family together, and they become believers, and they're going to put some money into it. And then once you get the proof of concept and an idea ready to go, and then you go and do some animal work. You have success, and then you can show it to your investors, and then you start to get the investors. So for a long time, you stay what I call the valley of death. I mean, if I go to my friends and family and ask them for money, they'll give me the money, right? Because they like me. But I can't build, a company on that. So I have to go. And so to come out of that, I have to do. And that's when you get the first money outside friends and family, then you've really escaped the valley of death. Now you're good. Now you're gonna. So, but every project will go through that cycle. So far, you haven't had an investor come and say, "Okay, do whatever you do. Here is a X million of dollars and just go crazy." That would be ideal, but nobody did do that. So that's how each project is gone forward so far. And we're looking at other avenues that we can expand our innovations. The standard of care right now for each of them, so let's say heart valve, tricuspid valve, right now there's only one valve that just got approved by FDA, Evoke for tricuspid, and that's basically came out of my first endeavors. A lot to do with that. So that one is the only, so that standard of care at this point in time is surgery, right? For the valvular disease. So we need to change that and make that percutaneous, and that'll get there. So that's how we'll change that. For the standard of care right now for aortic diseases is surgery. Mortality in surgery, open surgery for aortic dissection, in best of hands is about 15 to 25%. That is at this point in time, surgery is the standard of care. So hopefully we'll reduce that. And that morbidity too, the stroke rates and all the other stuff that comes with it. So that's that. On the heart failure side, standard of care is medicines, right? Diuretics and Lasix and all the water pills, as popularly known. But there are some good medications that have come out, which have taken patients through tough times, and their survival is better, and they have a better quality of life. But still, they're not efficacious enough. So the way to think about it, can we make this medication efficacious? The water pills work, because some of them just stop working because you've got upper limit of the dose. Can we make the heart such that that can pump a little better? So it'll be, I think for now, standard of care would be medicine. That's what it is today. Lasix and other heart failure drugs, ACE inhibitors and SGLT2 and all these things. But what we'll, as first step would be, can we make those medications work better by supplementing it with a device? And then on the, so that's basically on the other side is the same. There is the replacement sides that you just fix the problem, you change the valve, done. But in heart failure side, it's multi-organ, multifactorial. So there can we supplement the current therapy and get a better outcome. So this is the direction that this device is going to take for now. So right now we have one product we spun out already, that is the Monarch tricuspid valve. That would be a heart valve. Then the other company is a Relief Cardiovascular. That spun out of our incubator, and that's the one with the feedback loop, the first device that will come that, supplementing other diuretic therapy, etc. The one that we are working on right now is the Veritas device. That is going to be an aortic, supra-aortic. That means the dissection device that's still in the preclinical stage. So that's what we are raising funds for, to go into aggressively into first in human by the end of the year. Then there are 3 other programs: right heart failure and other blood transfer in the body from one chamber to the next, but controlled by physiology. Then again, a feedback loop. Those are sitting on the ice right now, because once we get one pushed into, then we'll pick those up. So, and then we've also had keep ourselves busy by entertaining. We have opened up the doors for other big institutions and companies that would like to work with us, because we have over these years garnished a lot of good contacts. We have a lot of excellent engineers and MBAs that have had good outcomes with us. They want to come back and work with us. So we can take a big project on and produce that. If somebody was coming to us and say, "Hey, you got this huge project. What do you guys think? Can you contribute to it to get it to the next level?" Yeah, so that would be another role of the incubator that we're exploring very, diligently right now. We're going into design validation process, so we have to do a lot of chronic animals and testing. So we are raising money actively for that, and we're going to buy 8 to 10 is our goal, so that we can get into human implant by the end of this year, or latest by first quarter next year. I know it's an ambitious plan, but time is money. So I think that's what we're trying to raise for that endeavor right now. The milestone that we have achieved with that technology is the few areas of uniqueness that nobody has, and so we are trying to take care of the 3 big problems with that aortic disease: the valve portion, the coronaries, the coronary artery portion, and the sealing of the aorta portion. So it's a trifecta syndrome. So we have the solutions. For the first time, I haven't seen any implant that takes care of all 3 problems with one implant. And also, I haven't seen anything that takes care of the coronaries at one, the left and right coronaries in the same implant, at the same procedure with one implant. So there's a lot of uniqueness to it. And also the valve piece, we have developed a unique way to fixate the valve in its location. So the combination of this C coming out of one catheter, to me, looks like it'll be great. So stay tuned. All the innovators out there, right? Physicians especially, I just would like to say that you have the idea on a napkin and you really feel excited, and that's just the start. So, and there are a lot of avenues that you should start to explore early as to who your partners are going to be, or first of all, how much can you do it on your own? Can you create the first prototype yourself? That's the best scenario. So go for good help early and pursue your ideas. Go to meetings, open your ideas to people. Do not get bogged down that if I talk about my idea, somebody's going to steal it. You know, that is true, but you got to be smart about it. Get yourself a good patent attorney, a kind of a cheap one. You can apply online and cover your ideas. The patent office has that capability that you can file your own provisional application. But you always better to get a lawyer. Protect your idea quickly, but go for it. Talk about it. Talk to people that you trust, and keep at it. And come to conferences. Go to all the medical meetings and LSI, and so that's the thing that we have to understand as physicians, that the idea begins in our heads because we're dealing with a problem, and we think that we've solved the problem. We put the drawings down on a somewhere and say, here it is, I got the answer. But that's not even the start. But so you have to pursue it. So that's the message I want to give to folks is if you can, respect your intelligence, what you're thinking is unique, nobody thought about it, pursue it.